Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're diving into a massive paradigm shift in how we create digital content. We're pulling insights directly from Zone Tech AI, and honestly, we're going to completely flip how you look at artificial intelligence. We're moving away from treating AI like some magical autopilot writer, and instead, we're learning how to master it as a human-led workflow assistant. Let's get right into it.
Now, you might be wondering, why does so much AI content out there sound incredibly polished, but completely empty? I know you felt this frustration. You read an article, maybe an email, and sure, the grammar is flawless, it looks structurally perfect, but as you're reading, the ideas just feel totally replaceable. It lacks depth, it lacks perspective, and frankly, it kind of lacks a soul. So why does this actually happen? Well, spoiler alert, it's not because the AI tools themselves are bad. It's really all about how we're asking them to work.
To fix this whole epidemic of soulless generic content, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The autopilot myth. 2. AI-assisted versus AI-generated content. 3. The BOORAVE workflow. 4. The prompt upgrade formula. 5. Avoiding AI risks. And finally, number 6, building your first AI workflow.
Section 1. The autopilot myth. Okay, let's dive into this. The absolute biggest mistake people make with AI isn't picking the wrong software. Not at all. It's that they expect the AI to just spit out a finished, publishable piece of content right out of the gate, without giving it any underlying strategy, source material, or standards. They essentially just say, hey, write me an article about marketing, and expect an absolute masterpiece. The truth is, strong AI-assisted content absolutely has to start with strong direction. Treating your AI like a one-click content machine, that's always going to lead to super vague, generic outputs. It's time for an immediate paradigm shift here. AI shouldn't be replacing your thinking. Actually, scratch that, it cannot replace your thinking. It should really be acting as a production partner that just makes your brilliant ideas easier to organize and reuse. Moving on to Section 2, AI-assisted versus AI-generated. This is where we need to nail down the fundamental difference between letting the machine run the whole show versus a human truly holding the reins.
So on one side of the spectrum, we have AI-generated content. This is where the tool produces pretty much the entire draft from a super basic prompt. And hey, it's great for exploring ideas or maybe doing some internal brainstorming, but it is highly risky if you just hit publish unchecked. On the flip side, we have AI-assisted content, and this is literally the gold standard for professional publishing. In this model, a human leads the entire process, and the AI just steps in to support specific tasks. You, the human, retain total control over the strategy, the structure, the real-world examples, the factual claims, and of course, the final tone.
So how exactly do we split up those responsibilities? Well, it's a bit like a team effort. AI is absolutely incredible at handling speed. It can generate a ton of variations for topic ideation, build out initial outlines, bang out a rough draft, and easily repurpose content across different platforms. But, and this is crucial, humans absolutely must own the angle, the factual accuracy, the brand voice, and the final review. Basically, AI can suggest things all day long, but it should never, ever be the final authority on what's true or what sounds like your brand. Section 3, the BRAV workflow. So, how do we practically apply that division of labor in the real world? Well, we need a system. We've got to stop testing random, disconnected prompts that leave us with messy, disjointed outputs, and move toward a reliable, actionable framework. Enter the BRAVE framework. I want you to think of this as your brand new content operating system. It acts as an anchor, keeping the AI safely contained right in the middle of a human-led process. You are the visionary director here. The AI is literally just your eager assembly crew.
Here's how the BRAV acronym actually breaks down into steps you can use today. First up, brief. You define the audience, the specific goal, and your unique angle. Next is research. This is where you gather your own unique notes, sources, and examples. Then assemble. Now you let the AI step in to help outline and draft based strictly on the research you just provided. After that is verify. You take the reins right back to thoroughly check the facts, originality, and your brand voice. And finally, expand. You take that fully verified asset and repurpose it across your platforms. Turning one core article into a newsletter, a bunch of social posts, or a video script. It's a completely controlled, closed-loop ecosystem.
Section 4, the prompt upgrade formula. Now, to make that Brave framework actually work, specifically during that assemble phase, you really have to upgrade how you're talking to the AI. Vague one-sentence commands, yeah, those have got to go.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is looking at the anatomy of these prompts. A weak prompt, something like write a blog post about AI, literally forces the machine to guess what you want. And because it's guessing, it defaults to a super predictable generic structure that could appear anywhere on the internet. But a strong prompt, that gives the AI a crystal clear strategy. By defining your target audience, the exact angle you're taking, the required structure, and specifically telling it to avoid all that generic hype, you get a highly targeted, reader-focused outline that actually brings real value to the table.
To pull this off consistently, you can rely on this 7-part formula. It covers role, audience, goal, angle, format, constraints, and finally, quality standard. Reusing this exact formula is kind of a game changer. It stops the AI from sounding like a robot just summarizing a Wikipedia page and instead gives it the precise context it needs to actually be genuinely useful to you. Section 5, Avoiding AI Content Risks. Okay, so we've got our workflow and we have our upgraded prompts ready to go, but now we need to pivot to a really crucial concept, and that's trust. Because if you just polish up generic or risky content, you're ultimately going to damage your brand and push your audience away. You really have to watch out for these core, hidden risks. The big one, of course, is hallucinations. This is where the AI just confidently invents false claims, which, as you know, is disastrous for any topic where accuracy actually matters. Then there's the risk of just pumping out generic, commodity content at scale without adding any original value. You also have to navigate copyright and style imitation, the danger of leaking private data into public models, and ultimately the biggest risk of all, losing your audience's hard-earned trust. So, how do we protect ourselves? You implement a strict, mandatory pre-publishing checklist. First, verify the accuracy. Second, ensure there's actual originality beyond what's already out there. Third, check that it matches your unique brand voice. Fourth, make sure it actually answers the user's search intent. And fifth, handle any necessary risk and legal disclosures. Seriously, never ever skip this checklist. It is absolutely crucial. Section 6. Your first AI workflow. Let's look at how to actually implement this entire strategy without getting totally overwhelmed by the hundreds of new tools hitting the market every single week. The secret here is actually pretty simple. You need to choose your tools based strictly on the specific job you need to solve, not by getting distracted by some flashy feature list. If your main bottleneck is slow outlining, well, you need an AI writing assistant. If your problem is spending hours manually writing social posts from a webinar transcript, then you need a dedicated AI repurposing tool. Don't go out and buy a massive enterprise suite if you just need a little help drafting a better SEO brief, Just solve your specific bottleneck. And honestly, here's my absolute best advice for you. Start small. Choose just one format and one repeatable, low-risk task to get started. For example, try turning your weekly newsletter into 3 short LinkedIn posts and just run that on a simple 7-day plan. You want to build the habit of guiding the AI first before you try to completely automate your entire business and, expect to end up on a beach doing nothing. We definitely aren't quite there yet. So, the core thesis of our explainer today boils down to this. AI absolutely can help you create better content, but only when it is guided by human review and held to a real standard for quality. It is an incredible, tireless assistant. It can organize, it can draft, it can repurpose for you, but the strategic direction, the real-world lived examples, and that final stamp of approval, that must forever remain distinctly human. I want to leave you with this final thought. AI is more than capable of generating the words, but are you actually stepping up and giving it the voice? Think about how you're going to guide, command, and truly trust your AI partner moving forward. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really can't wait to see the human-led content you all create.